eyeballed before. Aw, never mind, it's two goddamned cranes. Very interesting. Here's a story I found that's somewhat similar to yours. Be me. Trucker Fug. Green as grass. On assignment from Reno to Los Angeles. Stop to take my 10-hour break about halfway on US 95. Sleep for about 9 hours. Get rolling at 0100 local. Have to cut across Nevada Highway 6 to connect with US 395. It's 0330. Dark as hell out, 2-lane highway going for miles. Brights on. No cell signals, so just silent. Suddenly see something cross the road. Its head is level with mine, and I'm in a semi-truck. Slender, all black, a little hunched over. Just see it saunter across the highway at the edge of my high beams. Break out into cold sweats. Lock the doors and keep rolling. Pray to the ghost of snowman that my truck doesn't break down out here. Got into LA on time, still spooked. Tell other driver friends. They asked me why I thought it was a good idea to take that highway at night. There was also the time I got stuck in the ice and snow on US 395 near Bridgeport, prime skinwalker territory. Not my own story, it's actually the story of a friend's GF. According to her story, she's 4 or 5 years old, 6 at the latest. She wakes up in the middle of the night because she's thirsty. She goes to the kitchen and gets her glass of water. On her way back to her room, she happens to stare outside the living room window. She says she sees a garden gnome that she's never seen on the front lawn. It's animated, and beckoning her to come to him. She shakes her head, beginning to cry because she's scared. The gnome gets mad and makes as if to run at the window. In her fear, she drops the glass of water and runs off to her parents' bedroom and asks to sleep with them. The next morning they found her knocked over glass of water in a moist spot in the carpet, right next to the living room window. I don't think anything supernatural was involved. Kids do/see weird shit. I remember myself, I wound up seeing a therapist at a similar age because I commented to my parents that the patterns on the stucco walls in the interior of our house looked like writhing bodies in hell. Also, I have the vague memory of seeing a pale-faced man in the garage of my house when I was 4 years old, although no definite memory image exists that I can recall. Wrote it down in one go but broke it off because it was too long, so here. Be me, 16. Live in a rural area in the middle of butt-fucking nowhere. To go to my grap's house I had to go all the way down a foresty area with a cliff, trail down via dirt paths on the side, then follow a river till you get to their fairly large chunk of land. Total death trap, but my friends and I are young reckless little shits, so of course we do retarded things like run through the narrow dirt paths. Took 20 to 30 minutes to go from the small town Dad and I lived at to there, depending of how much you dawdle to get there. Gramps being the stubborn old ass he was, refused to leave his land and moved to town with Dad and me. I had 2 close friends back then, I'll call them Tom, a 18-year-old who usually instigated whatever stupid thing got us in trouble each week, and Sean, same age as me and the butt of pretty much all of our pranks. He became a bit of a grump and had huge chimp-outs every now and then. You know. Looking back, maybe we weren't that great of friends, but there was no one else to hang out with, so we made do. This story happened a rainy afternoon. Tom, Sean, and I were watching TV at my place because of the rain. My dad had been working like usual, he was a butcher at the time, and got home with big piece of ham for my gramps. I was supposed to take it to him, but the dad said I should wait till tomorrow because the rain may make the paths dangerous, regardless of how mad Gramps would be about not getting his ham. Whatever, less work for me. That day Tom had been particularly dickish towards Sean, to the point I actually had to sit in between them to avoid a full-on fist fight. Nothing new to us, though it had never happened with my friends at home. He probably had it particular hard that day. Us being loud teens eventually made him mad and he came in yelling, making everything particularly awkward. It was a pretty bad outburst. After a few minutes of silence with only the TV breaking it, I get up and pick the ham from the fridge. Ask the guys to come outside with me because I really don't feel like being with that. Explain to them I'll take the ham to Gramps and crash in there. By this point the sun is starting to set, but Tom insists we all go. Sean is bitching about it and how he doesn't want to walk the way back in the dark, but we win him over by calling it a coward, faggot and sissy. Off we go into the small forest. Tom ran into his house to get a flashlight beforehand, but it's not dark enough to need it yet. I'm carrying the stupid ham, which means I got my hands full, but Tom and Sean are just jumping around the overgrown roots until we reach the cliff. Then everything goes downhill. Needless to say, Tom kept teasing Sean the whole way and it was finally starting to get dark. I was feeling like shot at this point and the mud was getting annoying. Then Tom does it. He calls Sean near the edge. "Hey, what the fuck, it's that down there." Sean is having none of it and says he's going back. I would have called bullshit too, but Tom seemed concerned. "Really, you have to see it." Sean begrudgingly goes, and right when he's next to Tom he acts like he's gonna push him off the cliff, then pulls him back by his shirt. Tom was laughing his ass off. Sean on the other hand fell on his ass, coated in mud. Sean went ballistic. He was throwing punches and kicks at Tom, who was no paying attention. But the laughing stopped once Sean punched his face. I couldn't do anything but ask them to stop because I'm carrying the stupid ham. But the brawl didn't last. It was sudden. Our hearts stopped beating for a second. Tom had just accidentally thrown Sean off the edge down to the forest. The scream sent chills down my spine. I dropped the ham and about to run to the town to get help. Tom stopped me. He was rambling about how there was no time and we had to go get him or he could die, but I knew damn well he was scared of the police finding out he threw Sean. Regardless, we both ran down the path as fast as we could, almost tripping more than once. We were screaming for Sean the whole way, but after the initial scream there was nothing but silence. Once we were down, we went up the very thick forest, the opposite direction from the usual way to my Gramps' place. We were always told these forests were dangerous, too many wild animals. It was dark, the sun completely set. Everything damp, and our only means of navigation was the lamp Tom carried. But something else was off. The forest was eerily silent. Like idiots we ran deeper and deeper, screaming for Sean as hard as our lungs would let us. Suddenly we hear it. Here. We heard it, a scratchy voice, grating. "Must be because of the fall. He got really fucked up," Tom said as we ran towards the voice. I say run, but we tripped and got stuck by branches the whole way through. It's impressive what adrenaline can do for you. We are completely disoriented, and then's when I saw it. We reached a swampy area of the forest, mud up to our ankles, and got deeper and deeper as you go, branches reaching off the murky mush. And here's when I notice. I could swear some those branches look like fucking arms. Tom is still calling for Sean and goes silent as he's looking down at the mush, before running off the other direction. I ask what's going on and try to follow him, but I suddenly get yanked back by my jeans. I fucking swear I felt something grip them. I fall face first into the mud, and do my best to get up quick to find my footing. That's when I see it, covered by the darkness of the night, just barely noticeable at a distance. A pair of eyes, and a fucking mouth giving a toothy smile were right there in mud. Not a skull, not a head, eyes, and a mouth. I get up and try to run the same direction we came from before I get tripped backwards and almost had a heart attack. There was another fucking face, it couldn't be the same one. From here on my mind is a blur. I remember eventually getting up again and actually stumbling into the forest. Mumbles being the only sounds outside of the ones I made crying and getting away. Eventually I must have reached the river, because my gramps told me I got to his home late at night. He checked on me and saw I didn't have any severe damage outside of scratches and bruises. He told me he locked down the house and didn't sleep a blink watching over me with his hunting rifle. At the next day I told him everything. He didn't know what it was either, but we went to town and reported it all. Sean's body was found stuck atop a tree, snapped a bunch of bones, including his spine and neck. Tom was never found. I still don't know what to call whatever the fuck I saw, but I'm glad I moved far away from that damn place. UFO sighting, 2007 in Tucson, Arizona. About 2 in the afternoon. Driving across the city with friends to meet with a dealer and buy weed. Up in a part of the city with higher elevation. Looking down across the valley in which the city is built, at some storm clouds piling up above the mountain range lining the horizon. See something strange in the clouds. There's a large shape floating in the clouds above the mountains. It's shaped like a slightly elongated bell, but laying on its side. It's black in color, there's a white oval in the center of it. It's roughly the size of the moon in the sky, from about 10 to 15 miles away, so fucking enormous. Pointed out to my friends. We defer from our important errand, change direction, and start heading downward toward the opposite side of the city. A man is standing outside one, looking at the object. Continue driving towards it. Lose the higher elevation as we go, so lose sight of the object for a bit. When we see it again, we're maybe 3 or 4 miles closer. It has moved down out of the clouds and is not drifting slowly across the face of the mountains. Also, it has completely changed shape and color apparently. Now it looks like a flat rectangle, solid beige in color. By flat, it looks like it was a box drawn on the landscape by Microsoft Paint. We lose sight of it again. When we're about 3 or 4 miles away from it, we see it again. Realize why it had looked two-dimensional before. It was extremely angular and box-like in its form. You can imagine, if you remember the Borg spaceships in Star Trek, they're like giant cubes. It was kind of like that, except not perfectly square. There were some angles and corners in its shape. And its surface wasn't as rough and textured as the Borg ships, with all kinds of random pipes and tubes and what the fuck ever. It was smoother on its surface. But from the distance we were located previously, it had looked like completely flat. Now that we're closer, we're kind of more under it, and from an angle, so can see it three-dimensionally. We're still pretty far away from it, but I can make out like seams on its surface. It kind of looks like gigantic metal sheets that have somehow been formed and attached together, with maybe the outline of doors or ramps that would fold out from the surface or be retracted up so they are flush with the exterior surface. Just assuming here. But its surface was not perfectly smooth. The object is fucking immense, another really rough guess.